Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we dissect the complex world of corporate finance. And today we're diving into a company that has been in the headlines. See if their latest report tells us if they're soaring or starting to falter. This is a current report, meaning something significant has happened, and the company needs to tell us about it pronto. Basically, they're letting us know about a very important meeting. So, on the 28th of January 2026, Cantor Fitzgerald Income Trust Incorporated had its annual meeting for its stockholders. Think of this as the company's yearly checkup, where shareholders get to weigh in on important decisions. Now, what was on the agenda at this meeting? Well, two main things were put to a vote. First, the election of their directors. These are the folks who guide the company, making the big strategy calls. Second, they needed to ratify or approve their independent auditors, in this case, Ernst & Young LLP for the upcoming year. It is like getting the stamp of approval from an unbiased accountant to make sure everything is on the up and up. Let's get into the results of these votes. They tell us a lot about how the shareholders are feeling. The company had about 11.6 million shares of common stock out there on the 3rd of October, which was the record date for this meeting. On the first proposal, the election of 5 directors, we see the names of the nominees and how the votes came in. For Brandon Lutnick, there were over 4.1 million votes for him, and about 586,000 withheld. Now, when we see withheld votes, it means shareholders consciously chose not to vote for a particular director. It is a way of saying they're not necessarily against them, but maybe they're not fully convinced, or they have some reservations. Carl Lutnick also received a similar number of votes, around 4.1 million, with about 592,000 withheld. Arthur F. Backel got a bit more support, with over 4.2 million votes for him and around 483,000 withheld. John M. Mattison was very close, with 4.2 million votes for and 483,000 withheld. And Dean Palin saw the highest number of votes for at over 4.2 million, with about 462,000 withheld. What is really interesting here are the broken non-votes. You see, for every single director nominee, there were exactly 1.2 million broken non-votes. This tells us that many brokers who hold shares on behalf of their clients did not vote on this particular matter, as they didn't have instructions to do so. It is a common occurrence when certain proposals are not considered discretionary for brokers. The result, all 5 nominees were indeed elected to the board of directors. This means the current leadership structure, at least in terms of directors, will continue for at least another year. It suggests that despite some withheld votes, the majority sentiment among voting shareholders was in favor of these individuals. Now, let's look at the second item, the ratification of Ernst & Young LLP as their independent registered public accounting firm. This is crucial for a company's credibility. Shareholders need to trust that their financial statements are accurate and fairly presented. Here, the numbers are overwhelmingly positive. Over 5.6 million votes were cast in favor of ratifying Ernst & Young LLP. Only about 91,000 voted against it, and around 191,000 abstained. Importantly, there were 0 broken non-votes on this proposal. This suggests that shareholders are very comfortable with Ernst & Young LLP continuing to audit the company's books. It is a strong vote of confidence in the auditors and, by extension, in the company's financial reporting processes. So, in a nutshell, the shareholders have approved the auditors. This is usually a pretty standard procedural vote, but a strong showing of approval is always a good sign. And just to wrap things up, the report is signed by Christopher A. Milner, who holds the title of President. This date here, the 3rd of February 2026, is when the report was actually filed with the SEC now. Looking at these results more broadly, Cantor Fitzgerald Income Trust Incorporated seems to have a stable leadership in place. With the elected directors continuing their roles, the overwhelmingly positive vote for their auditors also signals a level of trust in the company's financial integrity, while there were some withheld votes for directors, which is normal. The key takeaway is that the essential governance and oversight functions received shareholder approval. The lack of broken non-votes on the auditor ratification is particularly noteworthy, suggesting broad agreement on this important point in terms of underlying business strategy or financial performance. This particular filing is focused on the governance meeting itself, so we don't get a deep dive into the numbers of how the company is performing financially. However, a smooth and uncontested ratification of auditors and the re-election of directors generally provide a stable foundation for the company as it moves forward. Alright, that is our breakdown of Cantor Fitzgerald Income Trust Incorporated's latest filing. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Did the election results surprise you at all? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps us out, and subscribe for more deep dives into corporate filings. And don't forget to check out our Discord community linked in the description for more discussions and insights. Thanks for watching. See you next time.